And we are live.
Excellent. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Healing Healthcare. This is the author's tour with your host, myself, Dina Redinger, and Sharon Weinstein, the co-authors of the book called Healing Healthcare. Evidence-based strategies to mend that broken system that we have. Nurses remain the backbone of healthcare, and little has been done or even studied to remedy some of these systems that are in crisis. And if we don't address this now, humankind will suffer. The book is packed with solutions that plague our health systems today, the problems that lead to these troubling sentiments among prospective nurses. Nurse leaders share their experience, thoughts, evidence, and strategies to ensure the health of our healthcare. What you will find within it are actual steps for fixing a system that is currently suffering in silence. We must get this book into the hands of those making those decisions. Before we start, we want to acknowledge you. We want to thank you for joining us today. We have viewers from probably all over the globe. So please use the chat and let us know where you're from. And if you have any questions, put them in there as well. If you can also see this on replay and you can comment and respond. So I'm going to send this over to Sharon at this time to introduce our guest or our author for today.
Thanks so much, Dina. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. We are thrilled. We are especially thrilled to welcome today's guest, a nurse leader, professional society executive, and advocate for nursing. A 2024 inductee, yes, that's this year, and in October of this year, for fellowship in the American Academy of Nursing. Vicki Good has been a leader in critical care in patient safety and in education. She writes, she presents, and she serves as a subject matter expert on a variety of healthcare topics and has served professional organizations to advance the nursing profession, including the Nurse Staffing Think Tank and Task Force. Vicki is a past president of the American Association of Critical Care Nurses and a lifetime member, and more importantly, she now is the chief clinical officer of the American Association of Critical Care Nurses. Welcome, Vicki, and congratulations on your newest role, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Sharon. And it doesn't sound like me that you're describing, so it's pretty fun.
It's definitely you. It's definitely you. Why don't we start off with a simple question? Why don't you tell us why you're involved? Why did you say yes?
So when I was approached about doing this, a chapter for this book, the first thing that drew me to it was the fact that it's a positive response. I think that so often people focus in on the negative and get down in the dumps about where we're at and, don't really talk about the solutions. And this book really talks about the solutions, both on a micro level and a macro level for nursing.
I'm so glad you said that because it is about solutions, evidence-based solutions. And I'll switch back to Dina and let you lead with that.
Okay. Well, talking about solutions, you were the head of the class, as we say, when it comes down to, focusing on, a healthy work environment. Tell us a little bit more about, how that evolved and what we all should know about what you found out years ago, probably, that you said, okay, we got to fix this problem.
Yeah. So my journey with healthy work environments really started probably in the early 2000s when I entered into the patient safety realm. And I saw how patient safety events were not individual events, but they were as a result of the systems around them and oftentimes the culture around. About that same time, AACN, who I've always considered my professional home, started working on the healthy work environment standards. And so the healthy work environment standards have been around since 2004. And, many people think that the HWE, which is what we call them at AACN, were a brand new thing, but they're actually 20 plus years old at this point. And they were way ahead of their times when they came out with those standards. And they've been endorsed by numerous organizations across now multi-specialties moving forward. But as they came out with those standards, I said, this is the framework we need to be able to start to work on the health of our work environments. And as I worked in patient safety, as I worked in key leadership positions, what I found was that was the focus area. And as I entered into my doctoral training program, I looked at burnout. And when you look at burnout, there's a component of individual accountability. Some of us are just more likely to develop burnout. But there's also this huge component of the environment and the impact that environment has on an individual. And what the research really shows is you can take the most resilient person in the world and put them in an unhealthy work environment, and that environment will, for lack of better terms, beat them down. And so while we do have a professional obligation to maintain our own individual well-being, there's this huge component as nurse leaders of ensuring that our nurses are practicing in healthy work environments where they can thrive and where they can do their best work. And so that's why it's been a passion of mine for 20 years. Almost longer than that at this point. It's 2024. So yes.
Yeah, I remember years back when I was part of the Infusion Nurses Society, because I too come from a specialty nursing practice background. I was first introduced to the standards by Ramon Lavandero.
Yes.
And he was passionate about the fact that this is something that everyone should engage with, everyone should embrace, everyone should be a part of the process. Yes. And you're right, 20 years ago, did we really think about the environment? Did we spend that much time thinking about it? Or was it just, let's go to work, let's get the job done, and let's move on and find people to replace us in the succession line, which we know we failed at.
Right. Well, and I think one thing that I find as I go around, and I was at a conference talking about the standards, and this person approached me and she goes, we need these in, blank area. And why can't we write standards for us? And I said, you can use these standards.
These are standards for us. Yeah.
Yeah. We want everybody to use them. And they're like, oh no, they're critical care standards. And I said, no, they're not. I said, open the standards, read them. There is not one word about critical care in them. It's about practicing in a safe, healthy work environment. And so we invite everyone to use them. You do not have to be a critical care nurse. You don't have to be a practice nurse. You can be in academia. You could be in a clinic. I mean, you can be anywhere and use these standards. I've often said they might even help in the divorce court.
Oh. Well, I have a question for you. With the standards, is there one thing that jumps out to you that really everyone should really put in place? Something is like, this is so important that if you don't do this, no one's going to have a good environment. Is there one thing that jumps out at you?
That's probably the most common question that any of us that are kind of experts, if you will. Yeah. And by the way, Ramon is I absolutely
love them. Love
him. But what we have found is that if you focus on one standard, all of the other standards are going to follow. And so it's almost impossible to focus on one without focusing on all of them. So just to remind the audience, if you're not aware, our standards are skilled communication, true collaboration, effective decision-making, appropriate staffing, meaningful recognition, and authentic leadership. And if you try to break those apart, it's impossible to break them apart because you can't have true collaboration without skilled communication.
Yeah.
You can't have effective decision-making without true collaboration. So all of those things become intertwined. So I can't really say one's more important. I would say probably skilled communication is the one that you find threaded throughout, more so than some of the other standards, but they're all intertwined.
Yeah. Good answer. Back to you, Sharon.
Right. Yeah. I was just wondering, and I'm sure that a lot of our viewers want to know as well, why critical care? Why did you folks develop this and roll it out and basically create the standard and raise the bar for all of us? Why was it something that was so important to you in the clinical space that you knew that something had to change?
Oh, I wish I would have been one of those original people sitting around that table when these were developed, but it really came out of years of our board and our team, our actual staff members partnering together to really talk about what was impacting bedside nurses. And that's how it really came to fruition, is that became the #1 advocacy issue for AACN and has continued to be the #1. But it was really listening to our members and what they were facing on a day-to-day basis and giving voice to what they needed.
Mhm.
Wow, you certainly were the pace setters when it comes down to that. It's made a huge difference,
Mhm.
certainly in my nursing career, and I know that of casts of hundreds of thousands more, because it
Yes.
was, in fact, the first example of what could be disseminated across the entire nursing and healthcare spectrum. No question.
Love
Yeah.
No question at all. So you've written a really profound chapter in our co-authored book. We're thrilled to pieces with what you've contributed. Can you share with us what is the one major takeaway from your chapter, one thought that will lead to transformative change?
I think the one thing that I want readers to walk away with is changing a work environment is difficult, hard work. It sounds like it's easy, but it takes years to change a culture, and that's really what you're doing. So don't get frustrated, don't get defeated, but just take one step at a time. So when I was AACN president, my theme was step forward. And my whole mantra was, you don't have to see the top of the staircase. Martin Luther King told us that, but you have to take one step at a time.
Mhm.
And so that's the whole thing, is this is a staircase that you're climbing. Take one step at a time until you reach that pinnacle. And it may take you years to reach the pinnacle, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I love that.
Wow, can I just add one more thing?
Yes.
In your new role as Chief Clinical Officer of the organization, are you following that same mantra? Does it still apply?
Absolutely. We are putting enormous efforts and resources towards continuing this journey of establishing healthy work environments. Unfortunately, after 20 years, we still hear from our members. We still hear from direct care nurses that the work environment is the fundamental challenge out there. If you look at all the data on why we have a workforce issue, it's the work environment. It's not the work itself. It's the
No.
environment that we're bringing our nurses to work in.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I think you're right, because I think nurses love the work. They love nursing. They love being able to care for others. But it's the environments in which they have to do it that is such a huge challenge. Back to you, Dina.
Yeah, I want to just close to say this book has 26 authors in this book. Vicki is one of them. You can hear her expertise. You can hear her passion. We have 26 chapters in this book that can really change the current environment that you're in. Read a chapter, take something away, put it in place, see if it makes a difference, measure the success. If it's not working, then find something else, because there's so much in this book. And so we want to say thank you for being with us. We want to close and have an invitation to join us again. We will be doing next week. I don't think do we have somebody next week?
We have 2 people next week.
Okay, 2 people.
Actually, we have 2 interviews. We have Bern Melnick and we have Megan Amaya. And we'll be doing our programs on Wednesday and Thursday to accommodate that schedule change. So please join us.
Yes. So have a great day. And don't forget, please order Healing Healthcare. You guys take care.
Thanks very much. Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We're thrilled to have heard from you, Vicki. You just bring such a wealth of information and such joy to the process. It's pretty amazing. That'll
Thank
bring
you
a
so
close
much.
to today's program. Thank you.